Good evening or morning or whatever time of the day it happens to be. Welcome one, welcome all to the Writer's Black podcast. I am your host, Greg Nikas, and this week we have got an action-packed, globe-trotting thriller of an episode. I'm sitting down with novelist Steve Berry to talk about the 20th entry in his Cotton Malone series, The Devil's Bible. We'll also discuss his hands-on approach to researching the real-world legends that go into crafting each of his narratives, what it's like managing the continuity of a series after almost 20 years, pivoting careers, and so much more. If you guys are enjoying the Writer's Black podcast, please consider leaving us a review on Spotify, Apple Podcast, YouTube, or your podcasting platform of choice. Follow along with us over on social media. We are at Writer's Black Pod on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. And if you want to go that extra mile to support the show, you can head over to patreon.com/writersblackpod and help us keep the lights on. All right, housekeeping out of the way, I'm going to reach back here. I'm going to grab the imaginary seatbelt, and I'm going to buckle in. I'm going to buckle in. I'm a giant dork for this week's episode with Steve Berry. We have a lot of guests who transition into writing from other industries. In your case, you were a successful lawyer for decades. You also spent 14 years as an elected official. Not worth mentioning, you have hobbies like scuba diving on your repertoire. You wear so many different hats. How do you keep from burning out with all of the different stuff that you do? Or in your experience, is variety the key?
That's exactly right. That's right. Variety is the key. Yeah, you keep things, new and different things. I like new and different things. I like trying things. I'm a very picky eater, which is interesting. I'm not very open to trying new foods, but I can try new experiences. I like new experiences a lot, and it kind of keeps things interesting. And I've done that over the years, and I hope to keep doing it.
Do you have like a favorite one of these things that you've tried out that maybe it didn't work, but for the story, it's fun?
I mean, Cotton certainly does some things that I don't do. Like he jumps out of airplanes. I'm not going to jump out of an airplane. I'm not going to do that. And um, I'm able to go live through him on some of those things that I don't want to do. I don't like tight spaces. I'm a little claustrophobic, and so Cotton has that similar malady. So we do share that. There's a lot of my personality that's in Cotton. So I would say that Cotton's done a lot more than I've done, a lot more.
When you first decided you wanted to start writing, what ultimately made you take that leap and move into it full time?
Well, to start writing and full time are two different things. To start writing, the little voice in my head told me to write. Yeah, every writer has a little voice in their head that tells them to write. And it doesn't say write a bestseller or do all this kind of stuff. It just says sit down and write. It could be terrible writing. It doesn't care. It just wants you to write. I had that voice in the 80s. I ignored it. I didn't listen to it until the 90 to 1990. And then I sat down and wrote a book. But from the day I wrote my first word to the day I sold my first word was 12 years. I wrote 8 different manuscripts during that time. 5 went to New York houses, rejected 85 times. I made it the 86th time, 12 years after I started. That was in 2003 when I got published. Now, I did 6 or 7 more books still as a practicing lawyer. It was 2008 when I had to make the decision to do it full time. And that was a scary decision because I'm giving up a law practice that I built from scratch. I had a good practice. I made a great living. Every dime I made off my books from 2002 to 2008, I didn't spend a penny of it. I didn't need to. I lived off my paycheck. I didn't. It was just great. So I'm shutting down all this, and I'm going to bank it all now on this other thing. It was scary, but it was the right thing to do, and it worked out good in the end.
When you were going through that process of submitting your works and getting all the rejections, what kept you going during that stretch when so many aspiring writers would give up after the first couple?
The little voice is exactly what it is. That's what the little voice is good for. It keeps you moving, it keeps you going. Because if you stop writing, it drives you crazy. And I did. I'm not Superman now. During those 12 years, I quit a couple times. I said, this is stupid. I'm wasting my time. I'm wasting everything. And then after about 3 or 4 days, the little voice would say, okay, what's going on? The pity party's over. Uh, I'm not going to shut up. I'm going to drive you crazy. You've learned that the only way I will hush is if you write. So, okay, that's what I did. And I kept at it and I hung with it. And then finally, one day, 12 years after I started, Lady Luck said, okay, I've been tough on you for a while. Today's your day.
You've been working on your thriller series Cotton Malone for nearly 2 decades now, with the latest entry, The Devil's Bible, having just come out. What keeps you coming back to this character after 20 years, or 20 entries in the series, excuse me?
I, I like him. I mean, he's an ordinary guy. He's not Daniel Craig. He's more George Clooney. He uh, he makes mistakes. He has trouble with his ex-wife, trouble with his son, trouble with his business, trouble with women. He has all the problems we all have, but yet when called upon, he can do extraordinary things, and that's what makes him interesting. There's a lot of my personality in Cotton. I put him in there when I created him. There's a lot of my wife's personality in Cassiopeia, and the two of them interact together similarly sometimes as we interact, which is fun and interesting. I like Cotton. I enjoy him. Readers enjoy him, and so I hope he's had 20 books. I hope he can get 10 or 20 more.
That is definitely a goal worth aspiring to. In the series, Cotton is a former operative of the Department of Justice. He's turned into a rare book dealer, though that's his life after his career. I love the unique career trajectories that authors come up with for their characters upon the retiring. What made this such an interesting path for you to play with as a writer? And were there other candidates for Cotton early on?
Not really. Well, there was another incarnation of Cotton that I started. He was very different, and I discarded that and created this one. I like old books. I like old bookshops. So I said, what, why not? You want to make your hero different. You don't want to be like everybody else. You want to have a little trick to it, a little something that sets that person apart. And so being a bookseller did it for me with him. And so it just worked out. I just picked the right thing. And I put his bookshop in Copenhagen so he would be living there off the grid, retired, trying to mind his own business and stay out of trouble, but he keeps getting drugged back in, drugged back in, drugged back in. And that was the fun part of it. Now you won't be drugged back in just for anything. It's got to be the right thing that drives him back in. Like his former boss is in trouble, Cassiopeia is in trouble, his family's in trouble. Yeah, we need you to save the world, Cotton. No, it's not my problem. I don't have anything to do with that. It's someone else's problem. So it has to be the right thing that draws him in. But so far, I've been able to find those things.
Yeah, I think so. You mentioned the character of Cassiopeia Vitt earlier, and
Yeah.
you co-write a series of novels with MJ Rose centered around her adventures. How different is the experience of writing on your own versus collaborating with another author?
It's very different when you have a writer because that writer has to kind of get my voice because we're writing it to my audience. That's and so that writer has to do that. What I tell the co-writer, I've had MJ, I've had Grant Blackwood, and I've got a couple more coming up. And I just tell the co-writer, I said, just write it your way. Don't worry about writing it like me. I will rewrite it and fix it in my voice. And that's what I tell them all the time. I said, it's easier for me to do that than me to try to teach you my voice. And so that's what they do. They write it their way. I said, give it your best shot, to try to write it in my voice. But if you don't get it, don't worry about it. I'll fix that.
So this latest novel, The Devil's Bible, what is your elevator pitch for this installment of the series?
Well, this is the book from the 13th century. It's the largest book in the world, written by an unknown scribe. It is stolen by the Swedes in 1648. It's been in the National Library of Sweden for 400 years, and now Russia, the Czech Republic, the United States, and Sweden all want the book, but for totally different reasons. And it's up to Cotton Malone to steal it and get it to the right one.
Your novels are known for blending real-world history into fiction. While researching for The Devil's Bible, was there a detail from legend that really grabbed you that sparked the story?
Yeah, the whole story of the Devil's Bible. We don't where it came from, who created it. One scribe wrote the book all the way through because it's handwritten all the way through. It would have taken 30 years to do that. But the handwriting on the first page and the handwriting on the last page is identical in style, everything. Now you would think someone aged 30 years, their handwriting would change a little bit. Not this guy. Stayed the same all the way through. There's a great mystery associated with the Devil's Bible, and that's what really drew me in.
Without giving too much away, The Devil's Bible touches on current geopolitical tensions, cultural ownership, Russian strategy, Baltic security. What lessons do you hope your readers take away from this book?
Well, I want them to get a little bit of an understanding of that. In real life, Sweden's entrance into NATO was blocked by Turkey for a number of years. In my book, it's blocked by the Czech Republic. So you're going to pick up this geopolitical politics that's going on because my books are modern day thrillers. But you're also going to learn a lot about the Devil's Bible, this fascinating book. And it gets its name from one of the folios inside that has a painting of the devil in there. And it's nothing like a devil we've ever seen before. So long before the Renaissance came along and gave us an image of the devil vastly different. The listeners can Google that. They can Google Devil's Bible, image of the devil. Take a look at that and see what it is. But it's in that book. It's there. And the whole mystery associated with the book and everything about it just drew me in. And I said this would make a terrific thriller.
I'm curious, with a series as long as Cotton Malone has been, 20 books over however many years, does it ever get difficult for you keeping track of continuity?
Yeah, a lot. And I was warned early on, you need to keep a notebook with all those things in it. And I wish I'd done it because I have a hard time sometimes remembering some of the details that come out. And I got to be real careful. You got to be careful about that because readers are reading these books and they're paying close attention. And I've got to pay close attention. So a lot of times I have to go hunt for these things. I wish I'd have kept that bio notebook with all the little details in there. I was warned and I didn't listen.
I was talking to a friend recently, and we're talking about a book series that gone on forever. And the question we kind of were posing to each other is, when the author was writing this project, do you think they were writing each novel as like a standalone movie in mind or like an episode of a show? In your opinion, with the Cotton Malone series, which way do you tend to swing on that? Do you look at them more as these are like individual big blockbuster releases, or these are all the pieces of a longer ongoing narrative?
Both. The trick to writing a series is every book in the series has to be the same but different. The same but different. That's a tall order. Same in mine is the characters are the same, not the antagonists, but the protagonists are the same. You're going to have action, history, secrets, conspiracies. What's different? Different thing from history, different motivations, different bad guys. Everything's very different in those. Each one of my books are very different, but they're also some similar. And that's the trick to it. But I also realize that in life, like in life, things have to change. And so Cotton's world is being upended a little bit. I started it with the Atlas Maneuver a couple of books ago, and I'm going to continue it. This book is another thing. Something happens in this book, very dramatic for Cotton. And we're going to go forward in 28. There's going to be something more happening there. And so there's a lot going to be happening where his world is going to get upended a bit so that we can make it a little fresher, a little newer, a little something different, but still keep the same. That's very important.
You dedicated this book to travel advisor Yvonne Governor. How closely have you worked together, and or how important has their role been in choosing the locations to shape your stories?
Well, she's great. I mean, I would call her up and say, look, I want to go to Stockholm. I need to spend about 7, 8 days. I need to see this, and this. I'd like to stay here if possible at this place. I give her a list of everything and she puts it together. She makes it happen. And she comes back and says, got it, what you need. Here it is. And she's done that for 25 years. She's assembled my trips. She's found the right guides because I need a special guide. I don't need a tourist guide. I need a guide who can really get into what I'm interested in because I'm interested in things that the ordinary person is not interested in. And she's always found the right person. I had a great guide in Romania. He was wonderful. He took us all around, showed us everything, and it was got really into it. Wonderful. You got to have the right guy, the right person. Yvonne has done that. And I should have dedicated a book to her a long time ago, but finally got it right this time.
Is there anywhere you want to go or you want Cotton to go that you just haven't gotten to yet, either because it didn't make sense for the story, or maybe it's like this is the monolith that I'm pushing towards for
No,
the
I want him to go some new places. I've been to some of these. I want him to go to the Far East. He's not done that. I want him to go to New Zealand and Australia. He's not done that. I want him to go to Africa and perhaps Southeast Asia. These are all places he's not been. So I've been to most of those places. A few of those I'm going to go to in the years coming up. So I think Cotton's going to be visiting some of these newer places. We're going to get him out of Europe a little bit.
And then I guess as we're winding down, I have just two questions that I try to ask everybody. The first one being, what is one question that nobody ever asks you that you always want them to ask you?
Oh, wow. Man, I don't know. I get asked about every question in the world. I rarely get something new, some new question that comes up. I got one recently, though, that was asked. Someone asked me, was there ever a character that you killed off that you wish you didn't? I never thought about that before. I never thought about that before. But I thought about it for a little bit and I said, no, I think I killed off everybody I wanted to kill off. I think I do because I'm very careful about who I kill off. I don't have a lot of death in the books. There's not a lot of violence. But that was a question I'd never been asked before. And it got me thinking a little bit about it. So, um, but I don't have another one like that. No.
And then I guess lastly, then we all have people in our lives who inspire us to do the things that we do, whether it's simply like getting out of bed in the morning, going to work, walking the dog, or these tasks of writing or globetrotting or whatever it is that we do. Who are you thankful for today that inspires you to do what you do?
My wife Elizabeth, she's the one. She's the muse. She gets it done. If I get frustrated, I get particularly when we're on research trips, I get frustrated. She's the one to say, "All right, settle down. Come on, quit crybaby and let's go. Suck it up." Now she practices tough love now. I mean, it's tough. She doesn't keep me say. She's the first reader of the books too. She's a owner of co-owner of her own publishing house, Blue Box Press, and she's an editor herself, so she's the first read of the novel. So she's really tough. So, but she's the one that kind of keeps the wheels moving.
Steve, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today. Where can people go to find more from you, check out your latest updates, find your books?
You can go to steveberry.org. Everything is there. All the books. 29. There's 29 novels out there and about 5 novellas. So there's plenty to choose from, and it's all there at steveberry.org.
Fantastic, Steve. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Guys, go show Steve some love and check out The Devil's Bible, Cotton Malone, Book 20, wherever you get your books. I, for one, was very intrigued by the concept of this series, so once I'm finished with David Baldacci's Dreamtown, I'm actually cracking open The Templar Legacy, which is Cotton Malone Book 1, and I'm gonna try to get through the whole series, because it sounds like a very interesting premise. Steve was an awesome guy to talk to, so please show Steve some love, check out his books, check out his website for all the good details, and let him know Writer's Block sent you, however you would do that without being creepy and weird and violating privacies. Maybe don't do that, actually. Maybe just tell him you like his books. Maybe that's fine. Next week on the Writer's Block podcast, I'm sitting down with Stuart Hardy to talk about how he is navigating the transition from YouTube critic to short story writer to director and back again. We'll also talk about how he navigates imposter syndrome and work-life balance, maintaining his unique voice across all of his different projects, and his experience directing some British television legends.
This is what I was saying about me being this isolated, antisocial person sitting up in my room. Luke is not like that whatsoever. He will just email anyone and ask anyone for anything. And sometimes they say yes. I was one of those people that said yes. And so was Susan Twist and Katie Manning somehow. So we all end up converging on this weird little shop about 40 minutes away from where I work to make this sketch on I think it was a Sunday in 2024. You'll see it eventually.
If you guys are enjoying the Writer's Block podcast, please consider leaving us a review over on Spotify, Apple Podcast, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. You can also follow along with us over on social media. We are at Writer's Block Pod on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And if you want to go the extra mile and help us keep the lights on, you can support the show directly over at Patreon. We are patreon.com/WritersBlockPod. Thank you guys so much for tuning in this week. Thank you to Steve Berry for stopping by. Until next time, I've been Greg, you've been awesome, and keep writing.